RAM timings can make a surprisingly big difference, but most people don't fully understand what they actually do. So what do all these numbers mean? And are lower timings really worth paying for? CL40. If you buy the cheapest DDR5 kit available today, this is probably what you're getting. CL40 is extremely common in office PCs and budget pre-builts because it's inexpensive, stable, and does exactly what manufacturers need it to do. Latency tells you how many clock cycles the RAM waits before it starts returning data. Lower numbers are better, but because faster memory also runs at a higher clock speed, you always have to look at both the frequency and the timings together. A lot of people think CL40 means 40 nanoseconds. It doesn't. Once you combine the frequency and the latency, you're looking at roughly 16.7 nanoseconds of real access time, noticeably slower than enthusiast kits, but not nearly as dramatic as the number alone suggests. For everyday use, you'd struggle to tell the difference. Windows feels responsive, browsers open instantly, and Office, Photoshop, or Visual Studio won't suddenly become sluggish because your RAM says CL40. Gaming is where it starts to matter. CPU-heavy titles spend more time waiting on memory, so frame delivery becomes a little less consistent, especially in large open worlds or competitive games where high refresh rates expose small delays. That doesn't make CL40 bad. It just makes it a poor choice if you're building a gaming PC from scratch. CL36. This is probably the most misunderstood timing on the market. A lot of people immediately dismiss CL36 because they've heard CL30 is the only correct choice. In reality, whether CL36 is worth buying depends almost entirely on the price. A typical DDR5-6000 CL36 kit ends up around 12 nanoseconds of real latency. That's slower than CL30, but it's still a huge improvement over entry-level DDR5. In most games, you're not looking at a night-and-day difference. Average frame rates often stay surprisingly close. The bigger gap usually shows up in 1% lows. That's the small dips you notice while exploring busy cities, loading new areas, or during heavy firefights. If you've ever felt a game was smooth most of the time, but occasionally hesitated for a split second, memory latency can be part of that story. This is why CL36 often makes sense when prices get weird. If the CL30 version costs another $20, I'd still buy the tighter kit. If the gap suddenly grows to $80 or $100, as we've seen more than once over the past year, CL36 becomes a much easier recommendation. It's not the fastest option, but it often ends up being the smartest one. CL30. If you've searched for DDR5 recommendations recently, you've probably noticed the same answer over and over again: 6000 CL30. That isn't because every other memory kit is suddenly bad. It's because this is where modern gaming platforms stop giving you meaningful performance for the extra money. A kit like this delivers about 10 nanoseconds of true latency, while also providing plenty of bandwidth. On AMD's AM5 platform, it also happens to match the memory controller extremely well, which is why processors like the Ryzen 7 9800X3D or Ryzen 9 9950X3D tend to perform best around this point. Intel tells a slightly different story. Core Ultra processors can usually handle much higher memory speeds, but even there, 6000 CL30 remains an excellent choice unless you're specifically chasing every last percent of performance. You'll find plenty of reputable kits that match this specification from manufacturers like Kingston, G-Skill, Corsair, and Team Group. The brand isn't really what you're paying for. What matters more are the memory chips underneath and how well the kit has been tuned. The nice part is that you don't have to think about any of that if the price is reasonable. CL32 and 34. This is where RAM specifications start looking a little backwards. The frequency goes up to 7200, 7600, or even 8000 megatransfers per second, but the CL number gets higher instead of lower. That isn't a mistake. As memory runs faster, manufacturers usually have to loosen the timings to keep everything stable. For Intel systems, that's often a perfectly reasonable trade-off. Core Ultra processors generally cope with very high memory speeds much better than current Ryzen chips, so applications that move huge amounts of data, video editing, software compilation, or some engineering workloads can actually benefit from the additional bandwidth. Gaming is less straightforward. Higher frequency doesn't automatically mean lower latency. In fact, many 7200 CL34 kits end up feeling very similar to a well-tuned 6000 CL30 kit once you calculate the actual access time. AMD users have another reason to be careful. Push memory frequency too far, and the memory controller switches to a different operating mode, increasing latency enough that some of the extra bandwidth simply disappears in games. That's one of the biggest myths around DDR5. Bigger numbers on the box don't always translate into higher frame rates. The subtiming trap. Same CL, different performance. Imagine finding two memory kits sitting next to each other on Amazon. Both are DDR5-6000. Both say CL30. Both have the same capacity. One costs $80 more than the other. So, where did the extra money go? The short answer is, into numbers you probably never looked at. Most people ignore them because they look like random BIOS settings, but together they determine how efficiently the memory moves between different operations. That's why two kits with exactly the same headline specification don't always perform the same. The difference isn't usually dramatic. You're not suddenly getting 20% more FPS. But in CPU-heavy games, a well-tuned kit built with high-quality Hynix chips can deliver noticeably stronger 1% lows than a cheaper CL30 kit using lower-binned memory chips. That's also why experienced builders often care more about the memory chips than the logo on the heat spreader. You'll see people specifically looking for Hynix A-die or M-die kits, not because Samsung or Micron are bad, but because those Hynix chips generally tolerate tighter subtimings and manual tuning much better. If you're never planning to open the BIOS, don't overthink it. Buy a reputable kit with good reviews and move on. But if you've ever wondered why two identical-looking CL30 kits have completely different prices, now you know where at least some of that money goes. CL16 and 18. DDR4 may no longer be the newest standard, but that doesn't mean it's suddenly slow. In fact, a DDR4-3200 CL16 kit has almost exactly the same first-word latency as DDR5-6000 CL30. That's why people moving from a well-tuned AM4 system to an entry-level DDR5 build are sometimes surprised that Windows doesn't feel dramatically faster. The difference isn't the first piece of data, it's everything that comes after. DDR5 offers much more bandwidth, which becomes increasingly important in newer CPUs, modern game engines, and heavier workloads. As processors keep adding more cores, they're also asking the memory subsystem to move more data at once, and that's where DDR5 starts pulling ahead. If you're building on AM4 or Intel LGA 1700 today, good DDR4 still makes financial sense. A 3600 CL18 kit is usually the sweet spot, and spending significantly more on premium DDR4 rarely pays off. Just remember what you're buying. You're saving money today, but you're also buying into a platform that's reached the end of its upgrade path. If your next CPU upgrade is only a year or two away, jumping to DDR5 now may actually cost less in the long run. CL28 and below. This is the part of the hobby where common sense starts losing the argument. CL28, CL26, and even tighter timings do exist, but they're aimed at enthusiasts who enjoy tuning memory almost as much as using the computer itself. Getting there usually means increasing voltage, testing stability for hours, adjusting dozens of subtimings by hand, and accepting that one BIOS update can send you back to square one. The performance gain is real, but it's much smaller than many people expect. In a few CPU-limited esports titles, you might see a couple of extra frames per second. In most modern AAA games, you'd be hard-pressed to notice the difference without an FPS counter running in the corner. There's also no guarantee that two identical-looking kits will behave the same. Memory overclocking depends on the quality of the memory chips, the CPU's memory controller, the motherboard, and sometimes, a bit of luck. If tweaking BIOS settings sounds fun, CL28 can be a rewarding project. But if your goal is simply to build a fast, reliable PC, enable EXPO or XMP once and enjoy your system. That's exactly what most people should do. What should you actually buy? After all of that, the answer is probably much simpler than you expected. If you're building a new DDR5 gaming PC today, 6000 CL30 is still the easiest recommendation for most people. It delivers an excellent balance of latency, bandwidth, stability, and price without asking you to spend enthusiast money for tiny gains. If CL36 happens to be significantly cheaper, don't be afraid of it. The difference is measurable, but it's rarely large enough to justify paying almost twice as much for the tighter kit. Entry-level CL40 memory is perfectly fine for office systems or budget pre-builts, but if you're choosing parts yourself, it's worth stretching the budget a little further. For Intel users chasing maximum performance, higher frequency kits like 7200 or 8000 megatransfers per second can make sense, especially in productivity workloads. For gaming though, don't assume that a bigger number automatically means a faster PC. And one last thing that's easy to miss. Don't judge a memory kit by the CL rating alone. Two kits with exactly the same frequency and the same latency can still perform differently because of subtimings, memory chips, and overall tuning. The headline specs tell you most of the story, but not all of it. At the end of the day, RAM isn't something you should obsess over. Once you've reached the right balance of speed and latency, your graphics card and processor will have a much bigger impact on how your PC actually actually feels. So don't buy RAM because it has the biggest number on the box. Buy the kit that makes sense for your platform, your budget, and the kind of PC you're actually building. Hopefully, choosing your next memory kit just became a whole lot easier. What RAM are you running, and what are its timings? Let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, drop a like and subscribe for more clear hardware guides.